What is up guys, welcome back to another video. It's been a while since I've posted a phone video. My last phone review, the Find X3 Neo, got over 1,000 views, which I'm very happy about. So now I'm here to showcase with you the Xiaomi Mi 11T Pro. This phone is absolutely awesome. Yeah, my dad lent it for me for this video, so I'm going to speak about everything that I love about the phone, and I'm also going to speak about what I dislike about the phone. So first off, let's speak about my first impressions when looking at the phone. So the base model is blue, but it's also, I don't know the specific word for it, but it's like a translution between two different colors. So they see a bit of yellow, I see a bit of blue, and I also do see a little bit of purple. So what I love about the phone, first off, is that I can actually hold it in my hands perfectly. There's no restrictions, it's perfect size for my hand. Fits in every pocket that I have, so I'm happy for my first impressions with the size of the phone. Right, so the design of the phone, the actual material, what I love about it is a aluminium back finished with a glass layer, and at the front is a Gorilla Glass shielding, so when you're out and about on the go, you drop your phone, it's got that layer of protection to stop it, other than your mid-range phone, which probably doesn't have Gorilla Glass. And that's what I love about the new generation of phones, is most phones nowadays will actually hold Gorilla Glass on the front of their screens, but not on the back, which I think is a bit excessive, because we should actually start revolving around the Gorilla Glass being on both sides of the phone if you're making a glass back phone. So first impressions with the actual structure of the phone, yes, it's strong, it won't crack on the go. So yes, you can be sure that this phone is strong. Little features that come with the phone when you actually buy it, there are only 3 types of colors. So there is only blue, white, and gray. Yes, so yes, that is a little bit depressing because obviously we want different colors of phones. The iPhone's bringing out phones that are red, green, even black and blue, whilst these phones only have 3 color bases. Not too fussed about it, but I think it's quite cool. So the phone runs on OS Android 11. So yes, it is an Android. It's not an iPhone, as you probably are aware, but iPhones nowadays are becoming consistently boring, in my opinion. So having to look at new Android phones and the latest Android releases is more entertaining for me than an iPhone. See, from the iPhone 7 to the iPhone, I think it's the 13 now, I've not really seen a difference other than storage and RAM. But the actual camera system, there's not really much difference. It is a 6.67 inch display. It is AMOLED. AMOLED basically just means 4K resolution. So when you're watching YouTube videos, TikToks, or Instagram Reels, you're going to get that quality difference. But might I add that Instagram and TikTok is only a 1080p resolution, but with this phone, it has the capability of high rating the resolution, so the actual colors are more saturated, and the darks are more darker, and the whites are more white. So you will get a difference in color balance. So from the previous model that Xiaomi released before this phone, it was actually the Xiaomi Redmi Note 11. Now, might I add that the fact that this phone is now 10.9 times faster than the Note 11. And I'll tell you why. So, with the actual core, the CPU, this holds now a Snapdragon 888 chip, whilst the previous model was a Snapdragon 680 chip, which now can run 10.9 times faster when you're downloading, watching YouTube videos, or just searching on the web. So yes, it is far more faster than the previous model. So yes, it is 10.9 times faster than the previous model. It has a 20 times more faster upload speed. Like I said, if you're uploading TikToks, if you're loading YouTube videos, or if you're just posting pictures, it's 20 times faster. So the RAM that it holds, it can go up from 8 RAM and 12 RAM. So you have that in between of how much RAM you want to use with the phone. Bear in mind, people will probably say, I want to use the highest bit of RAM. So the RAM that it holds is a lot more bigger than most phones. So when I reviewed the Neo X3, the RAM that it could hold was 12. this phone can hold 12, but bear in mind, when you actually use higher refresh rates of RAM, you're actually limiting what the phone can do. So this phone can do 120 Hertz refresh rate, but if I was to use 120 Hz refresh rate, can't even say the word, refresh rate, then you're going to either A, restrict yourself from, say, storage, or restrict yourself from battery life. So in between those, you have a choice to pick whether if you want to use the higher refresh rate or you want to save your battery. And if I'm being honest, I would rather save the battery. Right, so the battery life on this phone is actually 5,000 milliamp hours, but the only issue is it's not removable. So yes, if you do actually tend to break the phone, or your battery breaks or blows up, you can't just remove it and replace it. You will have to send it off to someone to fix it. So that is the only downfall with having this phone. But let's talk about charging. Now, the charging on this phone is 120 watts. Now, when I speak to my dad about this, he absolutely loves it. He loves how quick it can charge it. It can charge your phone in less than 20 minutes. But what I keep telling him, and he doesn't seem to believe me, is that this is highly dangerous, and he doesn't realize this. This is actually very, very dangerous. So the battery is made out of lithium polymer. So what I keep trying to tell him is, if you were to have your phone left unattended, and you forget that, oh, I have a quick charging phone, you could have risk of it blowing up. So when we talk about the actual charging, it can go from it can go from 0 to 100 in 17 minutes. I say that now, that's awesome, but if this was a gift to children or toddlers, which some people actually do that, you could have a risk of A, your child, you know, or in the hospital. So yeah, please be careful, because even though the phone can charge really quickly and you would consider, oh, that's fine, I can get it off in less than 20 minutes. Anything can happen. We know this, anything can happen. So please be careful when using this phone. But the actual charging is 120 watts. It's awesome, it's very quick. I've seen how quick it can go. It can go from 0 to 50 in less than 5 minutes. So it's impressive, but it's very, very dangerous. So please be careful. It's because we're all used to now having our phones going from 0 to 100 in about an hour or maybe an hour and a half. But with this phone, it's less than 20 minutes. So your usual routine might not work with this phone, because you have to watch it at all times. And please, please, I say this all the time, do not go on this phone when it is charging. Because let's talk about Samsung. So Samsung right now are being targeted because of their batteries. Their batteries now are blowing up. And we spoke about this as a group. Me and a group spoke about this, and we had our own opinion on it. We watched the latest video from Mr. Who's the Boss, his video of the Samsung phones blowing up. So what I got from that video was that when you leave your phone unattended for a certain amount of years or months, you're restricting the battery life from its constant regular cycle of being charged from 0 to 100 every so often of a day period. But now when you leave it for like a year or two and you come back to it and suddenly charge it, it actually puts stress on the battery, therefore making it blow up. So that's what I worry about with these types of phones. Don't get me wrong, the charging is really quick, it's awesome, the battery life's awesome on it, but what is the issue is the time it takes to charge. And I've said this multiple times to my dad, when I've felt the phone, it is very, very hot, which you would expect. The phone is very, very hot. But that's not good. That's really not good. He thinks that it's okay, it's been tested, and it has been tested. Therefore, I have it in my hands. But you have to consider the other section of people, which could be toddlers and children. If they're using the phone on charge, it could end up very lethal. So let's talk about the sound and how good the phone actually sounds. So when using this phone, I've noticed that the actual speaker is very, very, very loud. So I'm going to now play you one of my videos. So YouTube, don't copyright me, this is my video. And I'm going to show you how loud this phone is.
It's a LED light changer, so I think you can, they're seeing loads all over the net.
So it's very loud. It may not come up on the screen for you of how loud it actually is, but it's very loud. The only issue that I have had when using the phone is that it does not have a 3.5mm jack. And what that is basically earphones, aux ports. You cannot plug an aux port into it. You have to get an adapter for your charger. Now, that is the only issue that I have when using the phone if I was to make content. Like right now, you're hearing the sound through this, and I'm plugging it through my phone. It's through an aux port. It's the only downfall that I can say when it comes down to the sound, but the actual bass is very, very high. It's run by stereo speakers. Because what stereo speakers are, it is basically able to pan the sound from one room to the next. Right, so let's talk about additional features. So when using the phone, what I've noticed is, how can you actually access the phone quick and simple? So it comes with, of course, a pin, a lock, and a face recognition. The issue behind those is that they're very, very easy to get into. Okay, so what this phone has in difference is it uses a smart lock. It will recognize your fingerprint. Finger. Now, I know what you're thinking. I have this on my phone. You don't. This is a different type of finger recognition. It is side mounted, so it will recognize your actual fingerprint in 0.5 seconds. Right, let's talk about my favorite thing, cameras. How good is the camera on this phone? So, what I've noticed when using the phone, it comes with a standard triple camera on its rear side. That is first camera is a 108 megapixel wide camera. What that basically means is that it has 108 megapixel resolution whilst also consistently having that wide angle, which you don't actually see in high range of megapixels of phones, because the sensor of this phone is so small to detail that when it's in wide, it could struggle to pick up detail. But that's why they've added this feature. They've added HDR, and you're probably thinking, what is HDR? HDR is basically high dynamic range. Basically speaking, it is better than SDR, which is standard dynamic range. A standard dynamic range will probably be on your iPhone, or will probably be on your low budget Samsung. But what this does is as HDR, which is a high dynamic range. So when you're taking pictures, when you're recording, or doing whatever, you can select this mode so it can visualize every single bit of detail within the picture or within the video, so you get a better resolution response. Like I said, it does come with a triple camera setup. The second camera is actually a 8 megapixel wide camera. So the difference between the 108 and the 8, really no difference. Surprisingly, you can have as many megapixels to a camera as you would like, but that does not change what it really is. You can have as many megapixels as you would like. You could say this phone has 500 megapixels. That does not change what processor is inside of it. If you have a small processor, but a high dynamic range of megapixels, it does not matter, because you can make a 12 megapixel camera look like a 400 megapixel camera. It doesn't matter. It just depends on the size of the sensor inside, how good it is actually adapting to each and every detail, how it's processing the image, and then in the end, how does that image turn out once sent to other devices? Do I think it's 108 megapixel? No, I do not. I do not think it's 108 megapixel. I would say it's 60 at best. Just because it's labeled 108 megapixel does not change what it really is. So when using other phones, I will compare this phone to the Huawei P20 Pro. When using portrait mode compared to this portrait mode, this one sucks. This one's terrible. That's me being honest. This one does not actually register what's what and who is who. So, but when using the Huawei P20 Pro, it actually identifies what is the background and what is the subject, whilst this one will merge the two together. So that is something I do not like. My favorite feature of any type of phone is the macro lens. Now, I have never seen a more higher capable macro lens on a phone in my entire life, okay? That is honesty. I've used macro lenses and they can come out extreme, but when you use it on something that is literally in your pocket, it is a different feeling. The phone features panorama. Now, a lot of you might know what panorama is. It is basically a load of pictures continuously taken in one camera lens that are stitched together. Not a lot of people actually know this, but panorama is possibly the funnest feature to have on a phone, but if you know how to use it, you can make a career out of it. What I love about this phone when it comes to recording is it's consistently amazing. So this phone has 8K and it also has 4K. 8K will be run at 30 frames, whilst 4K will be run at 30 frames and 60 frames, giving you a more of a flexible run when you're actually recording. The only flaw behind this phone and what I do not like is the selfie camera. The selfie camera runs at 720p, but it can also go up to 1080p, 30 frames and 60 frames. Don't get me wrong, selfie camera video is really good if you're on a low budget, but if you're someone like me, you will never use the selfie camera. I posted a video, an advert, that was based on Christopher Nolan, and in it, if you didn't actually notice, I used movie frames. Movie frames is basically the dramatic effect that they use where they crop the image, but having black bars, top and bottom, to give it more of a dynamic, dramatic look. What this phone has is that. Tracking mode. What is tracking mode and why does this phone make it look amazing? So, when using tracking mode on any other phone or any other camera, tracking mode is basically selecting an object that you want locked and focused whilst moving the camera and it does not go out of focus. What this phone has is the same feature. The only difference is you have to stay 3 centimeters away from your subject, but once you've locked your subject, it ain't going anywhere. Right, so my overall review on the phone, don't get me wrong, I have not shown you the maximum amount of capability this phone can do. I've only shown you what I know. So, my overall review on the phone, I give it a 8 out of 10, meaning that there is a lot of features on there that I would consider taking away. See, if I'm being honest, people absolutely hate the 3.5 milliamp hour jack. They think it's pointless because they don't use headphones, so they've reduced that area to then add it in built in. But they've also taken away that feature to add in something we don't need, which, if I'm being really honest, don't get me wrong, the feature's great, but it doesn't work with this type of phone, is the portrait mode. I said this again, the portrait mode isn't great on this phone. It's not great. But I would have taken away the portrait mode to then replace for the 3.5 milliamp hour jack, because people like me that have a lot of aux port cables, it becomes very handy. So when using the phone, I can now go ahead and plug in my 3.5 milliamp hour jack, but because I cannot, that is why I would get rid of the other feature. Right, so that is my full review on the Xiaomi Mi 11T Pro. Like I said, it is 100% worth it, less than £600, and you get all these added features. Don't get me wrong, I've not spoke about every single feature the phone has, but I've given you a good insight to what the phone can actually do. So I would suggest buying the phone. Do I suggest buying it for children? No, do not buy it for children, do not buy it for teens, and do not buy it for toddlers, of course. Right, so that's been me. I will see you very, very shortly with a new video. I still have to think of what video though. But yeah, I will see you very, very soon. So take care, guys. See you next time.